It's no secret I like both Halo and Ultrakill, as they are fantastic first-person shooters with revolutionary design containing levels that can be considered the peak of the genre. However, there's something that connects them that nobody will expect: the story. Now, most people view story in FPS games as something that doesn't matter, especially in a homage to old-school shooters like Ultrakill, but both developed their story well, in my opinion. And when you look into it, Halo and Ultrakill share a lot of motifs in the story and characters. Let's first look at the protagonists of the games. In terms of design, V1 and Master Chief share many similarities, both of bright colored armor with a black undersuit in addition to a yellow visor. It's not a one-to-one comparison, as one is a robot and the other is human, but something else that is interesting is the amount of characterization that Master Chief is compared to a machine. During the first encounter with the Gravemind, the Arbiter is referred to of being flesh and faith, while the Chief is of machine and nerve. In the files of Halo 2 and 3, he is referred to by his name, while in Combat Evolved files, Master Chief is called simply by the title of Cyborg. This doesn't mean anything in the grand scheme of things, but it's interesting how Master Chief is partially characterized as a machine. Another similarity is the demeanor of the characters. Both are near-silent protagonists, saving their words for a few moments. In V1's case, he only talks once during the main levels. Then again, a lot of FPS protagonists share this trait, so it's not too major. What is interesting is the similarities between their rivals. The stories of the Arbiter and Gabriel have many overlaps. For one, their main journey as a character starts when they are defeated by the protagonist, where they are punished by the council that they serve. They later go on a journey to undo their mistake, and at the end realize they were being used, and goes against the council they once followed. This comparison could potentially fall apart depending on how Act 3 goes, but so far, Gabriel is following the same character arc that the Arbiter goes through in Halo 2. A minor but still important role that they both serve in the story is assassinating those that oppose the council, with the Arbiter assassinating the heretic elite and Gabriel assassinating Minos and Sisyphus, and one more potential target in Act 3. Another similarity they have is their weapon of choice compared to everyone else: a sword. While everyone else in Halo uses a gun, the Arbiter is most often portrayed in cutscenes using the energy sword. This is the same for Gabriel. While most inhabitants of Hell are using weapons or their special powers, Gabriel uses two swords. One final shared detail is their motif of golden armor representing their rank. But while we've discussed the blades for the Council, let's discuss the Council themselves. The Council shares a lot of similarities to the Three Prophets as well. The most apt comparison is how they die, to the rival of the main character. The story role is also the same, manipulating a mass of people to believe they are serving the will of gods and will be rewarded for it. These gods did exist at one point, but left for one reason or another, which we'll get to later. One thing that separates the two is the Covenant is a much more active threat, while only a few virtues in Gabriel attempt to impede your progress. However, the primary enemy is the forces of Hell, and the machines also trying to get to the final layer. In Ultrakill, the main threat is Hell. The forces of Hell are unending, without mercy, and focused on turning you into scrap. This description can also be applied to the Flood, as they forsake tactics for rushing you down. Another connection that can be made is they're associated with the beings the Council worshipped. The Flood was the cause of the creation of the Halo rings and subsequent destruction of the Forerunners, while Hell was created by God in Ultrakill. However, we can't confirm it's the reason he left. There are implications, but we can only wait until Act 3. What we can draw is the fact that the Flood is named after the biblical event, which was a punishment for humanity's sins, which Hell follows directly off the subtext. You may be noticing I've used the term Hell instead of the forces of Hell. That's because of a recent ARG, it has been discovered that Hell itself is sentient. This is like the Flood, which is controlled by the Gravemind. It also fits the story structure, as a council enemy is defeated first, which is soon followed by the all-consuming swarm finally being defeated. Granted, there are some holes in this comparison. The machines don't really fit anywhere, there's no UNSC or Cortana equivalent, and Gabriel is still V1's enemies. However, there is one final question to be answered. Why are there so many similarities? Was Akita heavily inspired by Halo? Was it mere coincidence? I have a different theory. My main theory is that through both games having similar inspirations, they likewise will have similar themes and motifs. Both games were trying to evolve 90s shooters, while in opposite directions, the inspiration can still be seen. Another inspiration is for the setting, with the combination of sci-fi, mythological, and Christian imagery and theming. With this context, it's not so foolish to assume they would both center on a single superweapon taking down an extremist group worshipping gods that have left the world in an all-consuming mindless verse. And this isn't just for Halo and Ultrakill either. People have known uncanny similarities between games that were inspired by similar sources. The first example coming to mind being Paladins and Overwatch. While both games had characters with very similar movesets, Paladins started development before any gameplay of Overwatch was revealed, making it a much more accurate statement to say both were inspired by Team Fortress 2. A lot of indie RPGs also have similar tropes and motifs, which can be explained by noting almost all of them are inspired by Earthbound, to the point this aspect has become a topic of jokes about the genre. One final comparison I would like to make is between Ori and the Will of the Wisps being compared to Hollow Knight a lot, when a lot of the inspired aspects were cited to be from Dark Souls, and you guessed it, is an inspiration in part for Hollow Knight. And speaking of the two, Hollow Knight has several parallels with Dark Souls story-wise, like the kingdom-destroying infection, the group of elite knights, and the Hollow Knight bearing many similarities to Artorias, which is based on Guts from Berserk, so we can go even further, but we won't. Overall, this could be a springboard for how we absorb culture and essentially tell similar stories in different ways, and the funny part about all of this is, it's covered in Bungie's previous FPS series, Marathon, but I don't want to wade into pretentious territory, so let's end this. It's just very interesting to see that certain stories can recur after many years, intentionally or not. It also shows how games have an edge over other forms of media by being able to make a story feel drastically different simply by presentation, and legitimizes it more as an artistic medium. Ironically, Halo 3 ODST didn't really fit into this analogy, despite it being clearly inspired by Dante's Inferno, but it all goes back to the point I made in the last sentence. Overall, I hope this analysis has been at the very least interesting to watch. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing as it helps the channel's growth. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.